This is MJ from Linus Publications, and I decided maybe to do the Democratic Party for 2025. It's interesting, and I'm actually going to do the Republican Party too, just so people have an idea for this year. And note, I won't be doing these for 2026 or 27 or 28 because at that time they're going to be going in my book for the Senate races and then for the presidential election. But the Democratic Party looks pretty interesting here. Beginning of the year is, not as much activity, starting to go downhill. And again, this is just what they're dealt with. But it starts to sort of, the yield starts to not so much increase, but the risk starts to be less. So the challenges, obstacles are sort of starting to fade away. Um, and we see that as we move towards the end of the year, it's pretty much yield here, going to the end of the year, probably into next year. Because if it's high like here, then it's sort of going the same thing next year. Um, so let's take a look at that's the risk yield. So that's interesting. And let's take a look at the just one other thing to mention here. You can see around 8:15, that's when the risk starts getting less here. So that's sort of a time to watch and see if there's any thing in the political world that seems to change. Now, as I noted, the Delta Poor transit actually in effect, takes the difference between the core and the risk and the yield and graphs that out. And it gives you sort of a little bit more detail as to when exactly things are sort of moving up or down. So we can see the beginning of the year is pretty much sort of around the zero, the equilibrium point. But then it starts to sort of come down and starts to come back up right around the middle of June. And we're sort of, right around this 7:15 time, and this little little spurt up here is probably because of news having to do with Epstein. And again, it's transit. It's not going to affect anything long term, but it's news that is probably working in the Democrats' favor. But then we can see, because the risk went away, we can see that our yield starts to, travel upwards. And then it doesn't come back down. It sort of comes down just a little bit, comes back up. Now, this seems really great, and it could be, but sometimes this can be associated with a party, in this case, being very complacent about things. So this was sort of the way Hillary's chart was looking in 2016, and we know what happened to her. I mean, hers had a great peak, but it was just sort of like right up here and started to go down right around election time. It was sort of like overconfidence. So we'll see what happens. Now, the nice thing here, though, is it does come down a little bit and then starts to climb back up again. So we'll have to see what happens. Okay, thank you, and hope you have a great evening.